Welcome to the Blue Collar Tutor Test Preparation Series for the New York City Fire Department, S-13 Certificate of Fitness for Citywide Supervision of Standpipe Systems, and the S-14 Certificate of Fitness for Citywide Supervision of Multi-Zone Standpipe Systems. It is critical that you understand this material to pass the exam. If you haven't already, it is recommended that you watch the brief overview video at the beginning of this series before moving on to the subsequent volumes. After an initial run-through of the entire series, refer back to each of these volumes, as often as needed, until you are confident with the material covered in each section. Once you become proficient with all of the material in this course, continue on to the S-13 and S-14 practice test sections to test your knowledge of the material. Chapter 10. Inspection, Testing, and Maintenance. The reference guide, defining individuals qualified as to whom can perform inspection, testing, and maintenance for standpipe and hose systems, will be given to you when you take the exam at the fire department facility. Specific questions will refer you to this material during the test. While the material covered in this chapter does not need to be memorized, this is a timed exam. You will have less than an average of 2 minutes per question. Familiarizing yourself with these 20 pages will ensure that you can complete the exam in the allotted time. It is highly recommended that you download Chapter 10.2, found on pages 61 to 81, from the Fire Department website and have physical printouts beside you when you take the practice tests. Repeatedly referring to copies of the actual material used on the exam while taking repeated practice tests is the best way to prepare yourself to handle those particular questions efficiently. Chapter 10. Inspection, Testing, and Maintenance. 1. A complete summary of tasks of inspection, testing, and maintenance. 1. Inspection. A. Standpipe systems. Gauges. Dry, pre-action, and deluge systems shall be inspected weekly to ensure that normal air and water pressures are maintained. Where air pressure supervision is connected to a constantly attended location, the system shall be inspected monthly. Alarm devices. Alarm devices shall be inspected quarterly to verify that they are free of physical damage. Buildings. Annually, prior to freezing weather, buildings with wet pipe systems shall be inspected to verify that windows, skylights, doors, ventilators, other openings and closures, blind spaces, unused attics, stair towers, roof houses, and low spaces under buildings do not expose water-filled standpipe piping to freezing, and to verify an adequate heat temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Hanger/seismic braces. Hangers installed in concealed spaces, such as above suspended ceilings, shall not need inspections. Hangers installed in areas that are inaccessible for safety considerations due to process operations shall be inspected during each scheduled shutdown. Hangers and braces shall be inspected annually from floor level to ensure that they are in place, properly aligned, and otherwise not damaged. All defects and deficiencies shall be corrected. Piping. Piping shall be inspected annually from the floor level to ensure there is no mechanical damage, leakage, corrosion, misalignment, and that required supports and bracings are in place, are in good condition, and not missing. Nothing shall be attached to any piping system component. Concealed pipe installed above suspended ceiling spaces are not required to be inspected. Exposed piping installed in areas that are inaccessible for safety considerations due to process operations shall be inspected during each scheduled shutdown. Hose connections. Hose valves shall be inspected quarterly. The inspection shall ensure that hose caps are in place and not damaged. Hose threads shall be inspected for damage. Valve handle shall be present and not damaged. Gasket shall be inspected for damage or deterioration. Hose valves shall be inspected for leaks, and to ensure that no obstructions are present. Standpipe systems hose valves, equipped with pressure-restricting devices, shall be inspected to ensure that restricting devices are present. Hoses. Hoses shall be inspected and services tested as specified in the National Fire Protection Association 1962, within 90 days prior to being placed in service for the first time and at least annually thereafter. Hoses carried on fire apparatus shall be loaded in such a way that air can circulate under the hose load to eliminate or reduce the growth of mildew in the hose jacket and rust and corrosion. Only clean, dry hoses shall be placed into service. Hoses shall be removed from the apparatus and reloaded so that the folds occur at different positions with sufficient frequency to prevent damage and the setting of permanent folds in the rubber lining. Large diameter hoses used to supply a pump from a hydrant shall be protected from chafing with chafing blocks or similar protection where it comes in contact with pavement or curbing. When connecting a pump to a hydrant, the hose shall be bent slightly to avoid kinks when the water is turned on. Care shall be taken to prevent the hose from chafing. Care shall be taken to avoid dragging large diameter fire hoses, but if a hose must be dragged, it shall be dragged when flat. Remove and inspect the hose, including gaskets, and re-rack or re-reel at intervals in accordance with the National Fire Protection Association 1962. Occupant and attack hoses, if equipped, shall be physically inspected annually to determine that they are free from debris, that they exhibit no evidence of rot, mildew, or damage by vermin. The inspection should also ensure that they do not have any burns, cuts, abrasions, coupling, nozzle damage, gaskets missing or deterioration, or incompatible threads on the couplings. Hoses must be removed from service and replaced with new hoses or nozzles. Hoses shall be unracked, unreeled, or unrolled annually. They should also be verified that the hoses are not connected to hose rack nipples or valves and that the hose test is not outdated. Hose nozzle. All nozzles shall be inspected after each use and at least annually. The inspection shall include verification of a waterway clear of obstructions, no damage to the tip, full operation of adjustments such as pattern selection, proper operation of the shutoff valve, no missing parts, and that the thread gasket is in good condition. If the nozzle fails the inspection for any reason, it shall be removed from service and repaired or replaced. Hose rack or storage device. Storage devices shall be inspected annually for damage, obstruction, difficulty in operation, hoses improperly racked or rolled, nozzle clip placement, and nozzle containment. If enclosed in a cabinet, a hose rack shall be inspected to verify that it will swing out at least 90 degrees. Cabinets. A cabinet's overall condition must be inspected annually for any corroded or damaged parts, for any difficulty in opening cabinet doors, and for any cracked door glazing. If a cabinet is a break glass type, inspect that the lock is functioning properly and that the break glass device is present and attached. Inspect for any cabinets not properly identified as containing fire equipment, for any visible obstructions, and ensure that all of the valves, hoses, nozzles, and fire extinguishers are easily accessible. Pressure reducing and relief valves. Fire pumps. As required by the Fire Department Commissioner, all circulation relief valves shall be inspected monthly and tested to verify that water flows through the valve when the fire pump is operating. Pressure relief valves shall be inspected weekly to verify that the pressure downstream of the relief valve fittings in the fire pump discharge piping does not exceed the pressure for which the system components are rated. B. Fire booster and special service pumps. Pump house heating ventilating louvers. A visual inspection shall be performed weekly to ensure that the temperature is not less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Fahrenheit for pump rooms with diesel pumps without engine heaters. Ventilating louvers shall be free to operate. Fire pumps. A weekly visual inspection shall be made to ensure that the pump suction, discharge, and bypass valves are fully open. All piping shall be free of leaks. Suction line pressure gauge readings shall be normal and that the reservoir should be full. System line pressure gauge readings shall be normal. Wet pit suction screens shall be unobstructed and in place. The accuracy of pressure gauges and sensors, pump shaft end play, coupling alignment, and wet pit suction screens should be checked annually. Diesel engine fire pump systems. Fuel systems. Weekly, check that tank levels are 2/3 full, the tank float switch shall be in auto position, solenoid valves operational, check for any water in the fuel system, and on the condition of any flexible hose connectors. Lubrication system. Weekly, inspect that the oil level in the right angle gear drive is normal and ensure that the lube oil heater is adequately lubricated. Cooling system. Weekly, check that the level is adequate in the cooling water to heat exchanger, the water pump, on the condition of the flexible hoses and connections. Annually, inspect the ductwork, clean the louvers for combustion air. Exhaust system. Weekly, check for any leakage and drain the condensate trap. Quarterly, check the insulation and for any fire hazards. Battery system. Weekly, check the electrolyte level of the battery system along with the charger and charge rate. Monthly, Remove any corrosion on the pump casing. Clean and dry the housing. Quarterly. Check that the terminals are clean and tight. Electrical system. As a general weekly inspection, ensure that the controller pilot light is on, that the transfer switch is closed, that the reverse phase alarm pilot light is off, or that the normal phase rotation pilot light is on, and that the oil level in the vertical motor sight glass is normal. Monthly, check the circuit breakers or fuses. Quarterly, check for any wire chafing where the wire is subject to movement. C. Water storage tanks. Condition of water in the tank. Water level. Tanks without supervised water level alarms at a constantly attended location shall be inspected monthly. Tanks with supervised water level alarms at a constantly attended location shall be inspected quarterly. Air pressure. Air pressure without a supervised air pressure source shall be inspected monthly. Air pressure with a supervised air pressure source shall be inspected quarterly. Water temperature. The temperature of water tanks shall not be less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature of water in the tanks, without low temperature alarms connected to a constantly attended location, shall be inspected and recorded daily during the heating season. The temperature of water in the tanks, with low temperature alarms connected to a constantly attended location, shall be inspected and recorded weekly during the heating season. Heating system. The heating system and components, including piping without a low temperature alarm, shall be inspected daily. The heating system and components, including piping with a low temperature alarm, shall be inspected weekly. Tank exterior. The exterior of the tank, supporting structure, vents, foundation, and catwalks or ladders shall be inspected quarterly for damages and weakening. The area surrounding the tank shall be inspected quarterly to ensure it is free of combustible storage, trash, debris, brush, or material that could present a fire exposure hazard. Inspect for any accumulation of material on or near parts that could result in accelerated corrosion. Check for any ice buildup on the exterior side and the top of embankments supporting coated fabric tanks, and ensure that they are free of erosion. Expansion joints shall be inspected annually for leaks and cracks. Hoops and grillage of a wooden tank shall be inspected annually. Exterior painted, coated, or insulated surfaces of the tank and supporting structure, where provided, shall be inspected annually for signs of degradation. Interior inspection of steel tanks without corrosion protection shall be inspected every 3 years. The interior of all other types of tanks shall be inspected every 5 years. The tank interior shall be inspected for signs of pitting, corrosion, spalling, other forms of deterioration, waste materials and debris, aquatic growth, and local or general failure of the interior coating. D. Valve and valve components. Deluge valves. A valve enclosure without temperature alarm heating equipment is subject to freezing. It shall be inspected daily during cold weather for its ability to maintain a minimum temperature of at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Valve enclosures equipped with low temperature alarms shall be inspected weekly during cold weather. Exterior valves shall be externally inspected monthly to ensure that they are free from physical damage, that the valve seat is not leaking, that all trim valves are in the appropriate open or closed position, and that electrical components are in service. Interior valves and the condition of detection devices shall be inspected annually when the trip test is conducted. Internal inspection of valves that can be reset without removal of a faceplate shall be permitted to be conducted every 5 years. Strainers, filters, restricted orifices, and diaphragm chambers shall be inspected internally every 5 years, unless a test indicates a greater frequency is necessary. Dry pipe valves / quick opening devices. The valve enclosure heating equipment is subject to freezing and shall be inspected daily during cold weather for its ability to maintain a minimum temperature of at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Valve enclosures equipped with low temperature alarms shall be inspected weekly during cold weather. Exterior dry pipe valves shall be externally inspected monthly to ensure that they are free from physical damage, that the intermediate chamber is not leaking, that all trim valves are in the appropriate open or closed position, and that electrical components are in service. The interior of the dry pipe valves shall be inspected annually when the trip test is conducted. Strainers, filters, restricted orifices, and diaphragm chambers shall be inspected internally every 5 years unless a test indicates a greater frequency is necessary. Backflow prevention assemblies. The double and single check assembly valves and double check detector assembly valves shall be inspected weekly to ensure that the S-Y isolation valves are in the normal open position. Valves secured with locks or electronically supervised shall be inspected monthly. Fire department connections. Fire department connections shall be inspected quarterly to verify that the connections are visible and accessible, that couplings or swivels are not damaged, and that they rotate smoothly. Plugs or caps shall be in place and undamaged. Gaskets shall be in place and in good working condition. Ensure that identification signs are in place, such as distance to the nearest fire hydrant. Ensure that check valves are fully operational and not leaking, and that the automatic drain valve shall be placed in the horizontal position and operating properly. And ensure that the clappers within the fire department connection are in place and that they are operating properly. Control valves. All indicating valves controlling water supply shall be sealed, locked, or provided with other approved methods as outlined in the National Fire Prevention Association 25/2011 edition. A seal is defined as an easily removable device with no key required that will indicate the unauthorized operation of a valve. Using this method shall require weekly inspections of each valve by the certificate of fitness holder. All indicating valves controlling water supplies equipped with locks, both supervised and unsupervised, shall be inspected monthly. The inspection shall verify that the valve is in the normal open or closed position, is properly sealed, locked, or supervised, is provided with the appropriate wrenches, is free from external leaks, and is provided with appropriate identification. Alarm valves. Exterior alarm valves shall be externally inspected monthly to ensure the gauges indicate a normal supply water pressure is being maintained. The valve shall be free of physical damage, and that all valves are in the appropriate open or closed position. The retarding chamber or alarm drains shall be in a good condition without leaks. All alarm valves and their associated strainers, filters, and restricted orifices shall be inspected internally every 5 years unless a test indicates a greater frequency is necessary. Check valves shall be inspected internally every 5 years to verify that all components operate correctly, move freely, and are in good condition. Testing. A. Standpipe systems. Alarm devices. Vane type and pressure type water flow alarms and supervisory devices shall be tested semi-annually to verify that they are functional. Mechanical water flow devices including, but not limited to, water motor gongs shall be tested quarterly. Gauges. Gauges shall be replaced every 5 years or tested every 5 years by comparison with a calibrated gauge. Gauges that are not accurate to within 3% of the full scale shall be recalibrated or replaced. B. Fire booster and special service pumps. Pump operation. A monthly test of fire pump assemblies shall be conducted with outflowing water and shall be conducted by starting the pump automatically. An electric pump shall run a minimum of 10 minutes. A diesel pump shall run a minimum of 30 minutes. An annual test of each pump assembly shall be conducted under minimum rated and peak flows of the fire pump by controlling the quantity of water discharged through approved test devices. The additional testing and inspection of the fire pump components shall be performed with the manufacturer's requirements or the alternative fire pump inspection, maintenance, and procedures found in the National Fire Protection Association 25/2011 edition. C. Water storage tanks. Temperature alarm. Low water temperature alarms shall be tested monthly in cold weather only. High temperature limit switches. High water temperature limit switches on tank heating systems shall be tested monthly whenever the heating system is in service. Water level alarms. High and low water level alarms shall be tested semi-annually. Level indicators. Level indicators shall be tested every 5 years for accuracy and freedom of movement. Pressure gauges. Pressure gauges shall be tested every 5 years with a calibrated gauge, according to the manufacturer's manual. Gauges not accurate to within 3% of the scale of the gauge being tested shall be recalibrated or replaced. D. Valve and valve components. Main drain test. This test shall be conducted annually at each water-based fire protection system riser to determine whether there has been a change in the condition of the water supply, piping, and control valves. Systems where the sole water supply is through a backflow preventer and/or a pressure-reducing valve, the main drain test of at least one system downstream of the device shall be conducted on a quarterly basis. Dry pipe valves/quick opening devices. The priming water level shall be tested quarterly. High priming water levels can affect the operation of a supervisory air or nitrogen pressure maintenance device. Testing the water level is done by opening the priming level test valve. If water flows, drain it. Close the valve when water stops flowing and air discharges. If air discharges when the valve is opened, the priming water level could be too low. To add priming water, refer to the manufacturer's instructions. Low air pressure alarms shall be tested quarterly in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Quick opening devices shall be tested quarterly following the following procedures. Close the system control valve, open the main drain valve, and keep it in the open position. Verify that the quick opening device control valve is open. Open the inspector's test valve. A burst of air from the device indicates that it has tripped the device's control valve. Return the device to service in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, then return the system to service. Each dry pipe valve shall be trip tested annually during warm weather. The valve should be tested in the spring to allow time before the onset of cold weather to allow water that has entered the system, or condensation, to drain to low points or to collect back to the valve. Every 3 years and whenever the system is altered, the dry pipe valve shall be trip tested with the control valve fully open and the quick opening device in service. A full flow trip test requires at least 2 individuals. One tester should be situated at the dry pipe valve, while the other tester should be situated at the inspector's test. If possible, the testers should be in communication with each other. A full flow trip test is conducted as follows. 1. The main drain valve is fully open to clean any accumulated scale or foreign material from the supply water piping. The main drain valve is then closed. 2. The system air or nitrogen pressure and the supply water pressure are recorded. 3. The system air or nitrogen pressure is relieved by opening the inspector's test valve completely. Concurrent with opening the valve, both testers start their stopwatches. If two-way communication is not available, the tester at the dry valve is to react to the start of downward movement on the air pressure gauge. 4. Testers at the dry pipe valve note the air pressure at which the valve trips and note the tripping time. 5. Testers at the inspector's test note the time at which water flows steadily from the test connection. This time is noted for comparison purposes to previous tests and is not meant to be a specific pass-fail criterion. Note that the National Fire Prevention Association 13 does not require water delivery in 60 seconds for all systems. 6. When clean water flows, the test is terminated by closing the system control valve. 7. The air or nitrogen pressure and the time elapsed are to be recorded as follows. A. From the complete opening of the test valve to the tripping of the valve. B. From the complete opening of the inspector's valve to the start of steady flow from the test connection. 8. All low point drains are opened and then closed when water ceases to flow. The dry pipe valve and quick opening valves are reset, if installed, in accordance with the manufacturer's instruction, and the system is returned to service. Dry/pre-action system air leakage test. Pre-action systems shall be tested once every 3 years for air leakage, using one of the following test methods. 1. A pressure test at 40 psi for 2 hours. The system shall be permitted to lose up to 3 psi during the duration of the test. Air leaks shall be addressed if the system loses more than 3 psi during this test. 2. With the system at normal system pressure, shut off the air source, compressor, or shop air for 4 hours. If the low air pressure alarm goes off within this period, the air leak shall be addressed. Pressure reducing and relief valves. Standpipe systems master pressure reducing valves. Annually, a full flow test shall be conducted on master pressure reducing valve stations and shall be compared to previous test result and the results from the original installation or acceptance test. Quarterly, a partial flow test shall be conducted with a flow rate great enough to lift the valve seat. Circulation relief valves. During the annual fire pump test, the closure of circulation relief valves shall be verified to be in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications. Pressure relief valves. During the annual fire pump flow test, the pressure of relief valves shall be verified to be correctly adjusted and set to relieve at the correct pressure and to close below that pressure setting. Backflow prevention assemblies. Backflow prevention assemblies installed in fire protection system piping shall be tested annually in accordance with the following. 1. A forward flow test shall be conducted at the system, including where hydrants or inside hose stations are located downstream of the backflow preventer. 2. A backflow performance test, as required by the authority having jurisdiction, shall be conducted at the completion of the forward flow test. Control valves. Each control valve shall be operated annually through its full range and returned to its normal position. This test shall be conducted every time the valve is closed. Post indicator and outside screw and yoke valves shall be backed a 1/4 turn from the fully open position to prevent jamming. Valve supervisory switches shall be tested semi-annually. A distinctive signal shall indicate movement from the valve's normal position during either the first 2 revolutions of a hand wheel or when the stem of the valve has moved no more than 1/5 of the distance from its normal position. Gauges. Gauges shall be replaced every 5 years or tested every 5 years by comparison with a calibrated gauge. Gauges that are not within 3% accurate of the full scale shall be recalibrated or replaced. High temperature limit switches. High water temperature limit switches on tank heating systems shall be tested monthly whenever the heating system is in service. Hoses, as per the National Fire Protection Association 1962. Service testing of a hose is undertaken to confirm its suitability for continued use. Because there is a potential for catastrophic failure during this testing, it is important that adequate safety precautions be taken. The service test pressure for hoses manufactured prior to July 1987 to meet the requirements of the 1979 and previous editions of the National Fire Protection Association 1962 will be a 1.5 to 2.5 single jacket hose with a service test pressure of 150 psi. Hoses manufactured in July 1987 and after are to meet the requirements of the 1987 and subsequent editions of the National Fire Protection Association 1962 section titled Standards on Fire Hoses. Stenciled on each length of hose should read, Service Test to PSI per NFPA 1962. In-service hoses shall be removed and service tested at intervals not exceeding 5 years after installation and every 3 years thereafter. Pressure reducing and relief valves. Standpipe systems. At 3-year intervals, a full flow test shall be conducted on pressure reducing valves and shall be compared to previous test results and the results from the original installation or acceptance test. Annually, a partial flow test shall be conducted with a flow rate great enough to lift the valve seat. Circulation relief. During the annual fire pump test, the closure of circulation relief valves shall be verified to be in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications. Pressure relief valves. During the annual fire pump flow test, the pressure of relief valves shall be verified to be correctly adjusted and set to relieve at the correct pressure and to close below that pressure setting. Standpipe systems equipped with hose racks. A full flow test shall be conducted on each valve at 5-year intervals and shall be compared to previous test results. The 5-year hydrostatic test. Upon order of the Commissioner, but at least once every 5 years, the standpipe system shall be subjected to a hydrostatic pressure test and a flow test to demonstrate its suitability for department use. These tests shall be conducted in compliance with the requirements of the rules and shall be conducted at the owner's risk, by his or her representative, before a representative of the fire department. Rooftop standpipe system flow test. At least every 5 years, a flow test shall be conducted at the hydraulically most remote hose connections of each zone of an automatic standpipe system to verify that the water supply still provides the design pressure of the required flow. All systems shall be flow tested and pressure tested at the requirements at the design criteria in effect at the time of installation, or as required by the fire department. (3) Maintenance. A. Standpipe systems. Valves. Control valves. The operating stems of outside screw and yoke valve shall be lubricated annually. The valve then shall be completely closed and reopened to test its operation and distribute the lubricant. Low point drains, dry pipe system, shall be drained after each operation and before the onset of freezing weather conditions, and thereafter as needed. Hose connections. The following devices must be maintained, repaired, and/or replaced annually. Missing caps, valve handles, restricting devices, and cap gaskets must be replaced. Damaged fire hose connections, deteriorated cap gaskets, and leaking valves must be repaired. Manual, semi-automatic, or dry standpipe connections that do not operate smoothly must be repaired or lubricated. B. Fire booster and special service pumps. A preventative maintenance program shall be maintained on all components of the pump assembly in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations. If there is no manufacturer's recommendations for preventative maintenance, use Table 8.5.3 of the National Fire Protection Association 25-2011. C. Water storage tank. Water level. Tank shall be maintained full or at the designed water level. Drain silt. Silt shall be removed during interior inspection, semi-annually, or more frequently as needed to avoid accumulation to the level of the tank outlet. Embankment-supported, coated fabric suction tanks. The maintenance of ESCF tanks shall be done according to the tank manufacturer manual. D. Valve and valve components. Control valves. The operating stems of outside screw and yoke valve shall be lubricated annually. The valve then shall be completely closed and reopened to test its operation and distribute the lubricant. Pre-action valves. During the annual trip test, the interior of the pre-action or deluge valve shall be cleaned thoroughly and the parts replaced or repaired as necessary. Dry pipe valves. Quick opening devices. During the annual trip test, the interior of the pre-action or deluge valve shall be cleaned thoroughly and the parts replaced or repaired as necessary. This concludes Volume 6. Repeat each chapter as often as needed until you are confident with all of the material. A transcript of this material is provided for free by the New York City Fire Department. See the link in the description below to upload the transcript and additional reference guides that you'll need to familiarize yourself with in preparation for the exam. Post any follow-up questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to stay current on updates to existing exams and to be notified of new test preparation content. If you found this video helpful, please consider leaving a like. Thank you for watching.